Good morning. The truth will set you free. This is one of the most frequently quoted statements by Jesus. But what is the meaning of truth? And what is the meaning of free? In today's gospel, Jesus discusses these issues with his listeners. Jesus' hearers were puzzled and perplexed about becoming free, since they thought that they were never slaves. His answer to them also applies to all of us. Everyone who commits sin is a slave to sin. The argument of the Jews is that they were children of Abraham. Jesus points out to them that even if they regard Abraham as their spiritual father, they do not have his spirit. Jesus' claim is that he came from the Father. The Jews couldn't grasp the meaning of that and all that that implied. Jesus' promise is that the truth will make us free. The question begs to be asked, do we truly want to be free? Do we want to know the truth about ourselves? Or is it easier just to see ourselves as we want to be? John will write about love much later in his gospel and in his letters. Perhaps our liberation starts with the great truth that Jesus tries over and over to convince us of, that we are fully known and endlessly loved by him, just as we are. True freedom comes from listening to Jesus' word, which tries to reach into our hearts and liberate us. Jesus wants to lead us to the truth so that we may be free. If we truly desire freedom, we need to be ready to accept the truth. There is nothing threatening or accusatory here. It's about being fully known and loved deeply. It's about knowing the true dignity lives in being a child of God. A child of God. Happy children feel at home in their parents' house. They can run around and play and make all the noise that they want. Do you feel at home in God's house? Or do you feel like a servant or a visitor? Do you really believe the truth about life that is communicated to us through Jesus, making us genuinely free? What freedom are we looking for? How many of us experience our commitment to Christianity as liberation? Or does being a Christian seem to be sacrificing freedom in exchange for the promise of some future existence of pure happiness? I think we can say with confidence that if we don't find being a Christian a liberating experience in the here and now, we may not really understand the true nature of our Christian faith. Jesus tells us that as his disciples, we remain in his word. To remain in the word of Christ means to conform our lives to his life and values, especially charity. To remain in his word is, as some would say, to walk the walk. In another passage, we're told that it's not those who say, "Lord, Lord," who will enter the kingdom, but only those who do the will of the Father in their lives. We desire to do God's will, but all too often we fall short. Remaining in his word is the stuff of sanctity, and it's also the stuff of daily perseverance and of knowing how to get up and dust ourselves off and begin again each time we falter or fall along the way. Jesus says that those who remain in his word are truly his disciples. Jesus seems to imply that there are true and false disciples. There's only one way to tell the difference between the two, I think, whether one embraces his word only as an ideal or as a way of life. A true disciple lives the truth of Christ. The freedom promised by Christ to remain in his word is a much deeper freedom than the world offers. Christ's freedom is not simply a freedom as the world defines it. Neither is it the ability to choose to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and how I want. The freedom of Christ's disciple is spiritual, moral, and interior, and only Christ gives this kind of freedom. If God were your Father, you would love me, since I have come from God. To know Jesus, to love Jesus, to follow Jesus is the way to God. And it is in God and only in God that we will find true happiness and peace and freedom. I hope you have a very blessed and happy and holy day. Thank you.